This is Las Vegas Real Estate Now with local real estate expert Harvey Blankfeld.
Let's talk about the monthly market update for June 2025. And I want to remind you guys that this data is single-family homes, because that's predominantly where I work. And it's also basically predominantly May data. So when we do the June report, we're using May data to create the June report. And let's talk about it. So single-family homes, we have almost 7,000 available right now.
Okay.
That's up about 400 from last month. Last year at this time, we only had 4,000 homes. So it's up significantly from last year.
30% or so?
Yeah. Under contract, currently have 2,365. It's about the same as last month, a little off from last year. And we only sold less than 2,000 in the last 30 days, which is about 10% off of last month and maybe 15% off of last year. Months of inventory, 3.5 months worth of inventory. That's where we get to the idea that the market's starting to shift more towards buyers, guys. The inventory is growing to a point now where I'm going to start to say it's going to start, maybe it's been neutral for a while, but it's going to start to shift a little bit towards the buyer's market. Although, interestingly enough, 36 days, the median price went up.
$485.
So it's counterintuitive to believe that that's happening, but what that is I just honestly believe that there's still enough buyers out there that they're leaving it flat. So it's interesting that this price should really be going down a little bit, honestly. Based on those numbers, it should be going, but it's not.
Well, but that goes to the idea that it's the midpoint of all the homes sold as opposed to like an average.
Yeah, that's true.
Or something like that.
It's true.
So it's just about the mix of homes that get sold, and which your little stack chart here will
Stack
help
chart, yeah. So we're talking about the volume. This is the number of single-family homes sold in any given month, year over year, going back to the year 2000.
Right.
And you can see we're a little behind now. We're coming up. We're falling back a little bit, and we're a little bit behind last year, which was one of the slower years, and even the year before, which was the slowest year we had in like 10 years.
I gotta say, this is like enough to sell or to scare sellers.
Yeah.
But not enough to really overly inspire the buyers.
And that's what we have to do. Look, guys, it's not our objective to get you to go out and run out and buy a home, but our objective is to point out to you that, gee, you might want to think about it as opposed to waiting. And that's I think that's an important point. Okay, so now the median price. Look at the median price. Now he has it at 480. I have it at 485 based on the day I pulled it. So you can see, but it's stayed
super stable.
It's like I mean, you go back to July of last year was 480. You go back, you keep going back. It was really 475. So it has for the last 12 months. It's been right at that number. It has not moved a lot.
You're within 10 grand all the way back through April of 24.
Yeah, I mean, so it has
just wobbling in that little range.
It's just that's what I'm saying. The median price is there. So now look at the way people are buying though, and this is basically all purchases. This is 43% conventional. FHA and VA is taking up a big piece of this now.
Honestly, I love to see the VA number higher than typical, because that could be 7-8% in a normal world. To see it crack 10 was nice.
I do like that. I like seeing both of those, because a lot of this is entry level buyers, and this is all owner occupants. This segment is all owner occupants, and I like that. A lot of this is too. Don't get me wrong. Conventional loans, a lot of that's owner occupants as well.
Yeah, but FHA and VA has to be owner occupant.
Has to be, indeed.
And then 23% cash. Cash across all segments is 20% plus, I think.
Always, yeah.
And that's a very strong number.
It is, indeed.
To get below 18%, that sort of thing, that's maybe a little slower cash market, but above 20, that's good.
Yeah, sound. So here's our demand, our availability and demand, and we're seeing that the supply is just spiking up here right now, and that's what I wanted to point out to everybody. Where demand is just kind of staying around. I mean, it's not doing a whole lot, but you can see the supply keeps creeping up, so it's got it up to like that 7,000 number, which we just talked about. But the sales is still running around that 2,000 number, so it's not. Again, supply and demand, guys. It just dictates where we're supposed to be. And so I want you all to be wary of that and be mindful of it. This is my little line graph that I like to do every month. The yellow representing the available properties. The blue is the median price, nice and flat over that period, we just pointed out. And the orange is the number of closings, the number of sales. It just keeps floating around that 2,000 number. It dipped down pretty low earlier this year. It was down to 1,500. But when we talk about year over year, June this year's 1994. Last year was 2273. That was the best month in a long time, and we actually came down this year. So so that just tells me again, activity's a little bit slower. And so
at what point do we call this the new normal?
Good question. Good question. I mean, I'd hate for this to be the new normal, but you're probably right. Right now, we have to consider it.
Right. I mean, I would buck against the idea of treating this as some sort of extreme market where, you see the inventory rise. It has certainly risen faster than we've seen in a little while here, but the total amount of inventory available today is still far below what we would have in what we used to consider a normalized market.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be that unusual to see 8,000-9,000 homes available, single-family homes available, and that was considered kind of balanced at that
What's
point.
your memory say back in the crash days? It was 28,000 homes in the market.
Oh yeah, I mean,
They're talking 2008, 2009 kind of thing.
Yeah, huge numbers then.
It was much bigger, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it fell to like 1,500.
Yeah, we ran it down to where there's basically hardly anything.
Yeah,
for sale.
Every time a home went on the market, there was a rush to get there.
100%.
And realtors were doing silly things like stealing the key so you couldn't get in the house, and it was it was horrible. It was bad things going on.
Good realtor strategy. All right.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm going to show it to my client, keep the key so no one else can look at it. I mean, bad practices, guys. Not
that and not to take you too off track here, but going back to our initial starting conversation about why this is the best buyer's market, that's one of the realities there where not so long ago, a buyer would have a property hit the market and they would have to drop what they're doing to try to go see that house.
Yeah.
Literally try to get
Hustle.
out of work, go see that house before it was gone, right?
It's true.
In today's market, another positive is you don't have to upset your world. You can make a schedule and see 10 houses in one day and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think
That's a nice positive.
Yeah, and there's opportunity. There's opportunities now because sellers will do things. Now, look, what I think's happening. It's interesting. I say prices went up, but you know what? We said this before. Concessions also went up.
Yes.
So the actual net to the seller may have actually gone down a little bit.
Could have softened a bit.
It could have softened. And so I think that may be what's happening. Sellers are augmenting the price with the idea that they're offering more outside of the actual price itself. And that's what's keeping the price where it is. So as a buyer, be mindful of that. Be mindful as John
and
pointed out
listeners,
before.
I would tell you that that's not a negative.
No.
To our audience, that is not a negative. That's actually a good thing and a frequently a good strategy to take advantage of as a buyer. Leave the price a little higher so you get bigger credits to pay your out of pocket. That's a good thing.
We're working on a deal right now. I won't talk too much detail, but I will say this, is that the seller wanted to do a little bit better than the original offer. And we went back to the buyer and said, listen, would you rather us reduce the amount of credit you're given or increase the price? And the buyer was very simple. Oh, no, increase the price. I need that credit.
Yeah.
That's going to buy down my rate. That's going to be much more effective than any lowering of any lowering of the cost is going to be much more effective to me. And it'll save me out of pocket. It'll save me a variety of things. Plus, it lowers my rate. So when you're building a deal, guys, remember, it's more than just price. There's so many components into that, including timing, including concessions, including inspections, appraisals. All of these things become part of the package. And so, as you pointed out before, I think was a really good point. The appraisers are now having an impact. There's an impact for an appraisal. There's not. Yeah. It's not like it was when you had to waive it.
Yeah. Right.
I would have never encouraged my buyers to waive inspection. But waiving appraisal was a necessity. You had to do it to get the house.
Sure, that was sometimes the strategy, depending on the competition for a particular house.
Yeah.
If you're competing against 5 other offers, you got to find a way to sweeten the pot to win frequently.
And that meant you had to come out of pocket for whatever difference there was if it didn't appraise it. So that could be very costly and could drain your savings account. And nobody wants that.
A little extra pressure on you as agents to get the number right?
Indeed, yes. We had to make sure. And we had to protect our buyers. And when they wanted to do that, we had to make sure they understood the nature of that. And understand. And maybe we would cap it at a certain number based on how much money they had in the bank.
Yes.
We would try to protect them. And then sellers, we had to protect the sellers too, because changing a value on an appraisal based on that, you had to be careful about the wording of that. It had to be carefully structured so that the sellers felt comfortable with what was going to happen there.